Hey guys, King Bowser6 here, and we're back with another video. In this video I'll be showing you guys the first full artwork that I created for my newest character, Harmonia. In this video I'll be talking about Lady Nagant, my ranking of the 5 one-for-all quirks that Deku has manifested so far, Season 6 spoilers, skip or mute this section if you haven't caught up with the My Hero Academia English dub, and me accepting sketch requests on Newgrounds and Discord for that matter. Lady Nagant is a very interesting character despite only being in the last 2 episodes of the English dub. She has a very clearly established story with some amazing development that you really have to think about if you want to truly understand it. She reminds me of Itachi in terms of what the two of them had to do. Itachi killed the entire Uchiha clan, and Nagant had to assassinate heroes, but the difference being is that Lady Nagant rebelled against the Safety Commission after realizing what she was doing wasn't really right, and Itachi's reputation diminished as soon as he did it, because he was always seen and will always be seen as a S-rank criminal, despite being dead and saving the entire village. In terms of her backstory, now that we learn more about her, it makes sense that some heroes are corrupt. That brings a new light to the My Hero Academia world and introduces this gray area, because before the series looked at things in the black and white. Heroes are good, villains are bad. This, along with heroes being a part of the paranormal illumination front, really changes the perspective of things when it comes to the series as a whole. Nagant's questions about the future of society make sense. If the public doesn't know about the idea of corrupt heroes, they'll always be fooled by anyone who's labeled as a hero, because they'll always think that all heroes are good, all villains are bad. There's nothing else to think about. They won't ever think about the idea of either one, villains being good in some way or having just motives, or they won't think about heroes just trying to line their own pockets. It's clear that Nagant wasn't built to be in the shadows like Itachi. The constant blood and murder weighed on her emotionally, and from what I can tell, she's emotionally just not as prepared for this kind of stuff as Itachi was. Now, getting down to what's going to be coming in the future, I do plan on doing at least one fan art of Lady Nagant. I haven't actually made any fan art yet. I'm going to be talking about some sketch requests that I'm doing in the next section, or actually not the next section, it's going to be the last section, but I plan on doing a redraw. Hopefully that pans out, and I plan on just doing a solo fan art of her like I did for Lady Nagant not Lady Nagant, like I did for Nana Shimura, except there's no guarantee I'm going to do a comic sort of thing for Nagant. I'm going to do at least one sketch, probably multiple. I'll probably have an entire video dedicated to sketching Lady Nagant, and if we learn more about her in the future episodes, whenever that video comes out, I'll talk more about her, but just be on the lookout for when that comes. As of me writing the script, Deku has manifested 5 one-for-all quirks out of the 7. I decided that since the introduction of a particular one that I'm interested in, I'd like to rank them in terms of how much they advance Deku's combat abilities and increase its odds at winning in any sort of fight. Mostly one-on-one, but if he's fighting multiple people, this would apply. So I'm going to go from lowest to highest, and the lowest one, in my opinion, out of the ones he's manifested, is Smokescreen. Against some types of enemies like Nagant, for example, this is pretty useful. There are likely enemies that Deku will encounter in which they can blow away or eliminate the smoke in some other way. It doesn't enhance One For All or his physical abilities whatsoever. It does, however, buy a little time if Deku catches someone off guard by using it. Like, for example, in his fight against Lady Nagant, he used it to buy time so he can use Fajin, and he combined that with Black Whipped to make decoys for Nagant to shoot at, so he can figure out where she was and then attack her. This happened in episode 21 of the English dub of season 6. That is one example of how useful it is, but for the average person, I highly doubt they're going to immediately be able to do something of that level. It requires a lot of combat intelligence, I should say, in order to use it. So by itself, I wouldn't say it has much impact. So next on the list, the next lowest, in my opinion, would be Float, which is Nana Shimura's quirk. She is All For One's mentor. Without Air Force, Float simply allows Deku to stay in the air. Air Force allows Deku to move around quickly while airborne. He did use it Against Shigaraki in conjunction with Black Whip, he was able to keep both himself and Shigaraki in the air, preventing him from using Decay on the ground. But like I said, with Smokescreen, Float alone doesn't do too much without the addition of other one-for-all facets, Air Force, Black Whip, Dangerous Sense, etc. Third on the list, Black Whip, or the third lowest out of the 5. As explained by Bonjo, who is the original user of the quirk, Black Whip specializes in capturing or restraining people. By itself, it can be used for that purpose along with allowing Deku to move around very quickly, like Spider-Man. He was able to use it to help avoid some of Nagant's bullets. In conjunction with Fajin, which I'll be talking about next, Black Whip's movement capabilities are even more extraordinary. Like, bro was literally Spider-Man. Like, I don't know how I can explain any better. Unlike Float and Smokescreen, I believe Black Whip works well by itself and is a useful standalone quirk. Next, so the second strongest in my opinion out of the 5 is Fajin, which is the third one-for-all wielder's quirk. I was immediately amazed by what Fajin did, and I immediately thought that in conjunction with one-for-all, this will allow Deku to deliver even more powerful blows, even if the amount of one-for-all he can control doesn't increase. And right now, for an attack, he can use 45% without breaking his body. To briefly explain, it allows one to repeat a motion and temporarily store that kinetic energy in the body relative to the body part that did the motion. So if he bends his knees back and forth, he would store that energy in his legs. If he swings his arm, he would store it in his arm. I think you get the idea. For one example, Deku could do a 45% smash and then add on the kinetic energy stored using Fajin to increase the power of said smash. I'm assuming the quirk is limited by the physical limits of Deku's body. I'm sure that Deku can't store an infinite amount of kinetic energy. It depends on how much he can handle, just like with One For All itself. One drawback to this in terms of a fight is that Deku has to either 1. Use Fajin ahead of time, so he has to know he's about to enter a fight and then use it, or 2. Find some way to buy time to build up the energy to use it. Against a long-range quirk like Nagant's rifle, for example, this will be more difficult, or even someone who moves quickly like Muscular, for example. Fajin definitely has a lot of potential, especially if someone as clever as Deku using it, and I can't wait to see what happens in the later episodes when he fights other villains, and I want to see how he evolves his power and uses it to his advantage, because he's already evolved Black Whip. Black Whip is a lot better than when he initially used it in season 5. Last but not least, Dangerous Sense. He awakened this during the fight against Shigaraki, and initially I was going to have Fajin be ranked above this, but considering how much Deku uses Dangerous Sense and how much Dangerous Sense alone allows Deku to avoid fatal blows, that's why Dangerous Sense is just number 1 piece for both combat and general use. There isn't anything better. Without Dangerous Sense, Nagant could have very easily hit Deku with her bullets, even though she wasn't even fighting fully. It's like Spider-Man's Spidey Sense. Some people probably compare Deku's abilities and some of his combat abilities to Spider-Man low-key, and I can see why. Deku can use Dangerous Sense to sense any danger in the world or any danger around him. I don't know if Dangerous Sense can tell Deku specifically what's coming his way, but I haven't seen a moment in which it activates and Deku's confused as to what's going on. It allows Deku to know ahead of time what's about to happen from what I can see, and Deku can react accordingly. It doesn't enhance his physical abilities whatsoever, but the foresight is quite a useful skill. I mean, we've seen multiple characters with precognition. In One Piece, there's the thing called observation hockey. If you train it enough, you can see into the future. Katakuri has this ability, and Luffy learned to use it during his fight, and we can see how much of a helpful tool that is. So, despite the fact that it doesn't enhance his physical abilities, it's still very, very great for combat. Combine it with the amount of notes that Deku's taken on a bunch of heroes and his classmates, and potentially villains for that matter. When Deku gets older and stronger, he's going to be unstoppable even if he only has One For All itself and Dangerous Sense. He would just be unstoppable. Let me know if you guys want me to rank the quirks on other factors as well, like movement, general use, etc. But for general use, I'd probably rank them the same way. So, I made a thread, which I'll link in the description of this video, on Newgrounds, in which I'm taking on random sketching requests. If you want to request me to draw anything, you can do so there, or go to my Discord. If you do it on Newgrounds, I'll reply to you twice. once to acknowledge that I've accepted or denied the request, a second time with the actual sketch done. I honestly don't know why I decided to do this, but I hope to see some of you guys check out the thread, or simply join the server and give me a request. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, check out my Twitter and Discord, both are in the description. If you want to know what I'm currently doing or thinking about, those two places are the best places to go. I will see you guys next time.